Yo, what is going on, guys? Jared here. Today I have a new deck profile for you coming from the new set that is upcoming, which I believe comes out in February or the end of January, which is going to be Phantom Nightmare. This is going to be a ritual-based deck, which we haven't seen in quite some time do well, and I have high hopes for this deck because it has one-card combos, is very consistent. The end board is like fine enough to in like current Yu-Gi-Oh where it's not like overly disgustingly broken, but at the same time, it's so consistent and like annoying to deal with that I think it will have a place in the metagame with so much non-engine slots as well, and multiple different ways and no restrictions to build it. So you can combine this with many different strategies and stuff. I have a very, very baseline version here, but there is so many different ways to play this deck to try out and mess around with. So please, when this deck comes out, please like mess around. There's going to be so many different ways to play this deck in my eyes, just because of how versatile they let you build it without restrictions. So I think it's gonna be really fun and really interactive deck too. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And if you enjoy, please subscribe. Okay, guys. So here is the deck. This is going to be Silenforcer, the ritual deck out of Phantom Nightmare, like I said, and this deck looks super cool, and I am very much looking forward for this deck because I read through all the cards and I did a couple hands of them and they seem pretty fun. So I'm going to read through the new cards because I think they're pretty complicated and they all do a lot of different stuff, but it's not that complicated once you get it down. I feel like that's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks now. It's like a lot more text, but then once you get it, it's pretty simple. So we're going to start off with the Novix. This is the girl from Skull Guardians Rituals, the Ritual Spells artwork. She finally has her own card, which is pretty cool. If you can Ritual Summon exactly a light Ritual Dragon or Warrior, you can, with a card effect that requires the use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. And then you can only use each effect once per turn. If it's normal or special, to place a Silenforce continuous spell from your deck to your faceless opponent trap zone. And if a light Warrior and or dragon ritual monster special summon to your field while this card is in your graveyard, special summon it. So you can already see how ridiculous this card is. Like, this does everything for a ritual deck. Being able to place a spell with trap so you can pseudo search from your deck, being able to full commit tribute and revive itself. So it's like a trifecta of just really good. And being a level 1 white fairy is also like phenomenal for obvious reasons. Fairy support is like very, very strong, as we all know, with like Herald of the Orangites and stuff like that. But yeah. And then, so this is going to be one of your major starters, and another starter is going to be Diviner with the Trias Hierarchia. This is because you can dump the Trias with the Diviner, tribute it off for it, and then you can special her out, the Novix from the deck from Diviner's second effect, which no one really uses. I've only used it a couple times with the Libromancer deck that I was playing before. But yeah, this is actually still a really powerful effect, and I think it's like both Diviner effects are ridiculous, not just the first one. So this also can just act as a starter for the deck. Next up, another new card. We have Saphira. For all of you who may know, Saphira is an old ritual monster that has not seen play in a very, very, very long time, but she might be making a comeback here. Effect is you can discard this card, send one ritual spell from your deck to your graveyard, then add one light warrior or dragon ritual monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Adding back from the graveyard is always very nice. You can banish this card from your graveyard to ritual summon one light warrior or dragon ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels or exceed the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. So yeah, this is going to be in like the main combo, one of the ways that you ritual summon to be able to tribute off the Novix to then be able to trigger her to special summon back and stuff like that. But she is a part of the main combo as well. Next up, we have the Surveus. He is also the older ritual monster, which is the dragon here, but they made them into like actual like human forms, which is kind of interesting and weird to putting them all in the same deck. But I mean, Konami's card design is Konami's card design, but they're just interesting. Effect is you can special summon this card from your hand by shuffling 2 spells from your hand and or graveyard into the deck, including 1 ritual spell. So keep in mind, only one is to be a ritual spell. The second spell could be anything. Could be an Upstart Goblin, Triple Tactics Talents, Pre-Preparation of Rites, Pot of Extravagance, anything you want. You can only use each effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand, special summon one white warrior or dragon ritual monster from your hand or deck, but shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of the next turn. So keep in mind, this card is almost pseudo in a way like a Melfi, where it bounces if your opponent does anything, you return this back to the hand, and then you are able to summon a ritual, which you have a plethora of options with what it does summon, being able to summon any warrior or dragon of light. There is a good amount of options that you can summon here. And next up is the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph Dragon. I am playing one of this card right now because I think it's really, really strong still. But the fact that it can negate spell cards is the main thing. Is once per turn, your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can place this card in your pendulum zone, and if you do, negate that effect. So yeah, very good card. And the fact that this can go into the what's it called? Into the pendulum zone, you also get the bonus effect of the pendulum effect of the dragon too, which puts itself back to the hand and adds a ritual spell for your deck or graveyard to your hand. So like you get a lot of value from this card, and that's why I'm playing it. It's not necessary at all in my eyes, but I think it's just like a very cool option and to be able to have in the deck. Next up, I have two of the actual Silenforcer. This card's going to be really popular because of Imperm and Effect Veiler and any other targeting effect in the game that is going to be in the format. We don't know the format in Phantom Nightmare. It's going to be a lot of fire monsters. We can guarantee that. But I think Silenforcer is going to have a place because this card can counter like things like the Rescue Wave Trap cards that target SP Little Knights. So we have a lot of options for Silenforcer, and I think this might even be bumped up to 3 because it helps play through so many things that you don't have to worry about anymore if this is in your hand. So, yeah, but the main thing I want to take away from, I feel like everyone knows the first effect of the non-targeting, but the second effect, when it's on the field, I feel like not a lot of people know, which is when your opponent would special summon a monsters, you can return to the hand to negate the special summon and banish that monster. So being able to negate a summon, an inherent summon specifically, is very important in the game, obviously. Things like SP Little Knight can't trigger. You can also summon this in contention with something like if they have an IP Masquerena, and then you can negate the summon off the Masquerena, as long as it's not channeling 2 or higher, of course, but, you know, just something to keep in mind. Don't accidentally do that. But point is, really, really good. And the fact that it goes back to your hand as well, to be another form of interaction is super strong. Next up, Skull Guardian of the Sun Forcing Protector. Long ass name. Skull Guardian is a very old ritual that we have not seen in a very long time. But I am happy to see it retrained and that Konami did not forget about their own cards. So you can ritual summon this card with the Silenforcing Prayer. Is very important, mentioning the card in the name or in the text. Gains 2050 attack while the level 1 is on the field or in the graveyard. So it goes to 4100. You can only use the following effects once per turn. If it's ritual summoned, add a monster or warrior or dragon ritual monster for your deck to your hand, a Silenforce monster. Again, so like this is something else that searches the entire deck, right? So you have like this being able to search, and now this being able to search, and then this being able to to add this if need be. So and then ritual summon it as well. So again, you have a lot of like moving parts to this deck. But also, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control the level 1, you can quick effect negate the activation and destroy the card for free. There is no like restriction. There's nothing you have to do. You have to attribute anything, pay anything. It's just free. Like, once per turn, you can negate anything for free. It's like a Baron, but it doesn't go away. So you can negate something on your turn. You can negate something on your opponent's turn. And I really think this is the reason why this could be something that is seen as a meta contender, because again, there's no restrictions to any of these cards. So you can mix this with other stuff to be able to sometimes put up this negate early before you do maybe a different combo for the other half of the deck. But again, it's going to be up to deck building and other like decks that are around for the meta. So yeah, the card's very, very strong. Next up, we have the 1 trap card. Again, I don't think you have to play the trap, but I think it's a nice option to have in the deck. It seems like 1 trap card of an archetype that is searchable seems to be the standard of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks as they are coming out. Continuous trap during the main phase, you can activate 1 of the effects. Shuffle 1 white warrior or dragon ritual monster or ritual spell from your hand or graveyard into the deck, and if you do, take a symphonic monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Yeah, really good, obviously, like very good recursion. This could just sit on the field and you can do that like every main phase, which is can get very annoying. The second effect, target card your opponent controls up to the number of white warrior or dragon ritual monsters you control. Destroy both of them and this card. So a pseudo Soundman Great Rage, which is the main interruption part that you have in this deck. But yeah, again, this card is just like, it's just good interruption. That's the biggest thing with it, and that it like the recyclability along with being able to constantly just pump out cards and put stuff back is huge. Next up, a continuous spell, Barrier. While you control Novice the Disciple and a white ritual monster, your opponent monsters can only target ritual monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target white monsters you control with card effects. It's white monsters total. They cannot target any white monsters. So both of them are white monsters, which is going to most of the time be Skull Guardian and Novix. So they cannot target either of those and any other white monsters that you have. It's very important to know. So even the Pendulum Graph Dragon, if that is on the field as well, so very annoying to deal with. During the main phase, you can add a Symphonic card or one Skull Guardian ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Again, so it's kind of like Tenki, but the better Tenki, because it's once per turn you get to search. You'll take a Dark Contract with, to be able to search. And with the protection effect and searching, this card is crazy. This is another starter because you're able to use this to get to her. Again, there's so many variations of this. Oh no, I'm sorry, you can't use this to get to her. I'm being silly. Because you just can only get to this. But yeah, point is, you have another searcher. Like there's so many searchers in this deck. Again, like this is like the only scary thing with ritual decks, right? Is that every ritual deck seems to lose to things like Droll and Lockbird, which is something I wanted to preface on. Droll seems to be ritual deck's downfall, and I don't think this is going to be any different with this deck. I think Droll is going to hurt this deck pretty harshly, especially with depending on how you build it. As you can see, I am playing Pot of Extravagance and pre-preparation of Rites because you really don't need anything in the extra deck. This is all more fluff than anything. You can use Diviner to send Herald, of course, and do some other cute stuff, but you don't really need it. So for pre-preparation of Rites, we are able to use it to search a Skull Guardian and their actual ritual spell, which we're going to get to right now. This card can only be used to ritual summon a white ritual monster. You must also tribute white monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed the level of the ritual summon. If a face-up white ritual monster loses a field by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Saravis, the Ascended, Saphira, the Queen of Dragons, or Skull Guardian, the Silenforcer Protector, from your hand, deck, or graveyard. From your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only use the effect once per turn. So very strong graveyard effect. So even if they do out the Skull Guardian, you're able to still use the ritual spell to just get another one on the field immediately. Very, very strong. Very, very strong card. And again, it mentions the Skull Guardian, so you're able to pre-preparation of it. Very, very good. And then I have like general non-engine spots here where you can switch around. Even the Pot of Extravagance you can consider as non-engine. Between Talents, Nib, Ash, Imperm, I think these are all just like fine cards. There's obviously you can play any non-engine that you want, but again, this is just what I'm just having in here now as placeholders for non-engine for whatever the format may be. I also have the old Saphira here. This card is like okay, it's not too good, it's just slow because it's during an end phase effect. You're able to activate one of these effects, so I don't like it right now just because of that reason, but overall it's like okay. And I have like extra copies of some of the other cards. But I think being able to play the Heralds in this deck, because she is a fairy, Diviner's a fairy, the Trias is a fairy, what's it called? I think there's another one. Oh, then like the Diviners, and then if you want to play the Keldon Medora along with them, you can. So you have a good amount of fairies that you can put into the deck to make these viable if you want to play them. It's just an idea that you are able to have with the deck to play a lot of stuff from the hand. And again, it's okay if you take some like -1s for stuff like Herald, because if you force through the Novox, you are able to push through anyway, and get like your full board, and you get follow-up regardless, so it's not like the end of the world. But it's nice that you're able to play stuff like 1-for-1 in this deck as well, to be able to start your combo and put a big presence on the board. And for the extra deck, I just have Relinquished Animas, SP Little Knights, Dynamods, Chaos Angels, Tifon, and then Heralds. Again, these are all like just cards that you can play. I'm playing Extravagance. You really don't go into the extra deck that much, but being able to go Anima into SP, very, very strong. With any deck, that's very, very strong because it puts a lot of pressure on opponents, especially when they misplace their monsters, and you can punish it extremely heavily. But so, that's going to be the deck profile. Let me know what you think in Phantom Nightmare, what you're looking forward to. This deck, I am extremely looking forward to. I cannot wait to get my hands on them because they look extremely fun, a lot of moving parts, and something I would really like. They do this, like, it's very does one thing very well over and over again. But the way it does it, I really like. I think rituals are just cool. I think ritual monsters are just very cool monsters. And I really like the art of these monsters too. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff I like about them. So overall, I'm excited. No restrictions. I want to mess around with some other stuff with them, of course, as I always do. Being able to merge and mix decks and see what I can come up with for some synergies. And let me know what you guys come up in the comments down below, because I am very curious of any other ways to play this deck that is not just the normal standard version that we seem to have for it currently. So overall, hope you guys enjoyed the profile and going over the archetype. If you want to see more of this deck, let me know. And if you enjoyed, please subscribe. Until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.